During my final years in high school, I took on the role of a delivery driver for a popular fast food establishment in our small town. Oddly enough, most of my closest pals worked at the same place, but the management, in an attempt to maintain order and productivity, scheduled our shifts in a way that kept us all separate. It was a bummer as it kind of ruined the fun of hanging out with your buddies at work, but the extra cash in our pockets was a decent trade-off. Now, my typical work days were pretty mundane. I'd pick up orders, hop in my car, follow the GPS, and make deliveries like clockwork. But there was one peculiar night that stood out from the ordinary routine. It was the weekend, and I was slated to work until 10 p.m. The orders were flowing in steadily, keeping me on my toes, with one delivery following the next. I'd grab a bag, set the destination on the GPS, drive to the drop-off, and repeat the process without a hitch. At around 9 p.m., or at least I think it was around that time, I was pretty much on autopilot at that point, a new order popped up on the screen. In my usual fashion, I grabbed the bag, checked the address, and hit the road. It wasn't until I was halfway through the drive that I realized this delivery was taking me in an entirely different direction. My internal GPS, which was familiar with our regular routes, recognized this divergence immediately. You see, this area wasn't our usual turf for deliveries, and there weren't many houses around. I was pretty sure the majority of our customers were in the opposite direction. Despite the oddity of it all, I continued to drive without giving it too much thought. But then my GPS indicated that I was only 1 minute away from the destination. That's when my internal alarm bells went off, as I couldn't spot a single house, business, or any kind of building. It was just me, the road, and a thick surrounding forest. Weird, right? I pulled over, genuinely perplexed and somewhat uneasy. I checked the GPS once more, and yep, it still showed that I was just 1 minute away from my supposed drop-off. Something felt off about the whole scenario, but with no apparent alternatives, I decided to give the customer a call, suspecting they'd input the wrong address by accident. I dialed the number and waited, the phone ringing on the other end for what felt like an eternity. When someone finally picked up, I explained the situation and kindly asked if they could confirm the address for me, hoping for a simple typo. The customer, however, reiterated the same address I had on my screen. Then, unexpectedly, he said something that sent a chill down my spine. "Wait, I think I see you." Bewildered, I craned my neck toward the source of the voice and saw a man standing by the roadside waving his arms. So I pulled up beside him with mixed feelings of relief and curiosity. The guy, who had that typical apologetic smile you'd offer for any inconvenience, attributed the confusion to the tricky nature of the address. He pointed down a half-beaten dirt trail into the forest and claimed that his house was down that very path. Now, against my gut feeling, I managed to smile and handed over his food through the car window. He gave me a warm thank you and watched as I pulled away from that strange and secluded spot. Not even a minute into my drive back, something felt decidedly off. My car started vibrating, leaning to the right, and things were getting worse by the second. It was like a disaster waiting to happen, and I wasn't about to take any chances. So I pulled over and phoned for roadside assistance, deciding that no matter the issue, I wasn't about to drive any further with my vehicle in its current condition. My gut feeling had grown into a loud warning siren in my head. After concluding the call with the assistance service, I got out of the car and inspected my tires. It didn't take long to realize that the front right tire was in tatters. Coincidentally, that was the same tire closest to the customer I'd encountered in the woods. As I contemplated the strange circumstances, my gaze wandered back down the road I'd just driven along. In the distance, I spotted a figure moving slowly in my direction. An unsettling shiver ran down my spine, and I quickly retreated to the safety of my car, locking the doors. The approaching figure drew closer, revealing a face I couldn't quite discern. A sense of foreboding filled the air, and I pondered the possibility of making a hasty escape, despite the damaged tire. But before I could make a move, I was saved by the arrival of a truck that had pulled up behind me. The occupants, good Samaritans, stepped out of the truck and inquired about my situation. That's when I noticed the stranger on the road had reversed his steps and was retreating into the woods. I breathed a sigh of relief, reassured by the presence of these new allies. I waited with them until the roadside assistance truck arrived, which, to my relief, took only a minute or so. With their support, I reached out to the local police, suspecting that something was amiss. As you might expect, the investigation turned up nothing. The name and address of the customer turned out to be entirely fictitious, offering no solid leads for the authorities. To this day, the mystery of what that man was trying to accomplish remains unsolved. Yet, the incident serves as a constant reminder that the most ordinary tasks can sometimes take an eerie and unsettling turn.